In this video, we will show you how to replace your front brakes, pads, and rotors on this Chevy Trailblazer. This will be located behind your front wheels. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we need to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once you've done that, we'll continue on by removing our center cover. You'll find a small slot for this. Continue on to each one of your 6 19mm lug nuts, and then remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off of there, we have a close look at our brake caliper. We have to remove the caliper from the bracket. To do that, you'll find that you have two 13mm headed bolts holding this in place. Remove the hardware, give it a quick inspection. Now we can take hold of this caliper and we'll slide it out of place. If it feels like it's stuck in position, you could carefully try prying it out with a small pry bar. Now once we have that off of there, the next thing we need to do is push back each one of these two pistons. When you do so, you need to do them both at the same time, because if you were to press one in, the other one will force its way out a little bit. Once we've done that, we also want to pay attention for any fluid coming from inside of this area. If you see any fluid, you have to replace the caliper. To push both of these in at the same time, I'll be using this caliper compression tool. Let's check for fluid. This looks good. Set it aside, putting no pressure on your flex hose. Move along to removing your brake pads. If it's stuck in place, just go ahead and pry it out. We'll give it a quick inspection. We can set that aside. Get this one out of here as well. Quick inspection. Now we can remove our two caliper bracket bolts. We'll use an 18mm for these. We'll set this aside. Now let's go ahead and take hold of that rotor. We'll give it a little wiggle and remove it from the area. The next thing we'll do is clean and inspect our mating surface on our wheel bearing hub. Use a wire brush for this if needed. Apply copper anti-seize to this area. All right, let's install that brand new rotor. Take that and put it in position. Use one of your lug nuts and mount it up against the rotor to hold it in place. Now it's time to prepare our brake caliper bracket. Remove your tins. We'll give them a quick inspection. We can set those aside for recycling. Once you've removed those, continue on to your two caliper sliders. You can take hold of that, hold onto the boot, give the slider pin itself a little wiggle to remove it from the boot. Once you've done so, continue on to wiping down that caliper slider pin. We want to give it a close inspection and make sure that it is reusable. If it looks like it's rotted or damaged in any way, it's a good idea to replace it. This one looks fine. Once you have the slider pin out of there, continue on to removing your caliper slider boot. To do this, you want to grab close to the bracket itself, press down on that boot, and gently pull it out of place. It presses right into the caliper bracket itself. Once you have that off of there, go ahead and give it a quick squeeze. Make sure it's soft and pliable and it's not torn, worn, or damaged in any way. Clean out the inside. We'll just use a rag, slide it right on through the center. And now we'll just work this around a little bit to remove any grease or debris that might be located inside of that caliper slider boot. One last inspection, we'll set this one aside and continue on to the other caliper slider. The process is the exact same thing. Now what you'll find is your two caliper slider pins are a little bit different from each other, so you don't want to mix them up. One of the slider pins will have a vibration dampener. That's this rubber piece right here. Double check to make sure it's not swollen. If it is, it's going to cause binding. The next thing we'll do is pay attention to the areas on the caliper bracket that had those tins. We'll use a wire brush to clean up the area. Do the same on the other side. Now that we have those areas clean, let's also clean the two ports for our caliper slider pins. We'll put it over a collection bucket, use a little bit of parts cleaner and a bore brush. We'll just give this a quick rinse, and then we can continue on with our two caliper slider boots. Slide this in there. Let's add some lubricant to those slider pins. Coat the entire shaft of each one of your slider pins. Once you've completed that, make sure you make your way all the way up into the groove closest to my fingers. That's where the boot will sit, and that's going to help prevent moisture or debris making its way inside this area. Press this in as far as we can. Make sure that the boot is completely seated all the way around. We'll just give this a little spin. That feels good. Move along to the other one. Same process. We've completed the slider pins. Let's move along to each of those areas where the tins will go. Apply a thin amount of high temperature caliper lubricant to these areas. You don't want very much, we just need enough to lubricate it. This will help with vibration dampening and noise reduction. Take that tin and slide it right in place. Now once you have the outer portion in place, you need to lock it in by pressing the center into this area. Take hold of that tin and make sure it is secured. Let's do the same to the other side. Now we can get this over to the vehicle. Let's reinstall our caliper bracket. We'll slide this right into place. Start in each of your two mounting bolts, snug them up, and torque those to 118 foot-pounds. Now we can install our brake pads. You'll find that the inside brake pad should have a wear indicator. We'll have that wear indicator facing straight up. Let's take some high temperature caliper lubricant and lubricate the backside of each of these 2 pistons. And then we'll also make sure that we do the backside of each of these 3 ears. We'll take the caliper and slide it in place, making sure that we are not twisting the flex hose. Start on each of your 2 caliper slider bolts, snug them up, and torque them to 34 foot-pounds. We'll remove the lug nut, and now we can install our wheel. Now we can get the wheel on here. We'll start on all 6 of our 19mm lug nuts, snug them up, get the wheel back on the ground, and then we'll torque these to 100 foot-pounds. With the wheel back on the ground, torque these in a crisscross manner. Torqued. Reinstall your center cover. Okay friends, I showed you how to do one side of your front brakes. At this point, you want to do the exact same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Once you've done so, pump up that brake pedal till it's nice and firm and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.